Hello, everyone.
Hello, thank
Hello,
you.
Sandra.
I think we can all agree that today we live in a polycrisis world. We've seen it in the discussions of the morning. So from regional tensions to AI-driven attacks, to identity fraud, and to non-stop digital change. In the last year alone, daily attacks have jumped 300% because AI makes attacks fast, cheap, and accessible. Criminals today do not need teams anymore. All they need is a prompt. Those are not tomorrow's problems. They are here, they are now, and Lebanon has been through it all. I'll start with you, Will, in our first question for the panel on cybersecurity. AI just gave every attacker a growth engine. What examples have you seen in the region of recent attacks that you can share with our audience today?
Yes, thank you, Sandra, and thank you for being so welcoming here today. AI has caused us a couple of problems and a few challenges. Not only is it a growth engine for attacks, but it's also lowered the barrier of entry for people to carry out these types of attacks that compromise our organizations. We've seen, for example, militaries using AI to be more precise in how they target, and also we've seen them just be more leveraging AI for things like deepfake and propaganda. It's very difficult now to know when we're seeing something legitimate or something that has been doctored in some way. From a traditional malware perspective, we've seen things like Evil AI, which was a malware attack that masqueraded as an AI agent. It looked like a normal piece of software. It was very hard to detect, but it targeted government and particularly manufacturing organizations. There were about 100 companies compromised by that particular malware, of which around a third were here in the Middle East. So quite a significant percentage that were compromised, and that particular threat was accessing information and then taking it and sending it back to an external server using encrypted channels. So it was very difficult to detect, and once it had taken a foothold, it was very difficult to stop. And just one final example, which I think is relevant around the lack of sophistication that's required. We also saw copycat examples where that malware code was taken and reused by seemingly run-of-the-mill, non-criminal, non-nation-state type actors, and they use that to compromise the AI agent SalesLoft to then compromise users of Salesforce, which is a customer record system used by literally thousands of organizations globally. So I think there's a big mix between the sophistication, but let's not also forget that AI is enabling anyone to have access to this type of code and use it for their own purposes.
So Will is telling us that anyone today can generate an attack. It's very easy.
Yeah.
You don't need to be organized crime anymore to generate an attack. And even research shows that in the Middle East, 73% of companies are considering AI and cybersecurity to be really a strategic priority for them, for their investments. So they're prioritizing cybersecurity to be able to prevent those attacks. And yet, 15% of those same companies are getting attacked, and they are losing millions. So how do you explain this gap?
Losing millions and losing data, which is more
Yes.
important than the money. I want to add to that before AI, cyber attacks was an organized crime. Now with AI, everybody can be a hacker. Anyone in this room can be a hacker. So AI is being weaponized, but also it's helping us as a cybersecurity vendor to create better and more resilient, like a vendor and security solution and cybersecurity solution. So if you want, it's a double-edged sword, okay? So coming back to your question, I believe so many factors that happened for the damages of the losing data or money. So for me, I can list the three major factors. The three major factors, it's not only in Lebanon or on the region, are globally. The first one is the security awareness, the lack of security awareness, especially among the employee, because all the employee, among any organization or government or private entity, they think that the cybersecurity responsibility is for the management. No, it's everyone's responsibility. How you can achieve this? There is a lot of cybersecurity awareness tools, trainings, seminars. Anyone who wants to apply a cybersecurity strategy, they need to apply as well cybersecurity awareness, okay? It's everyone's responsibility. Two, I believe the execution of the cybersecurity strategy, the complexity of the execution is very hard and need a lot of people, competent people, to execute this strategy. And the third one, which is I faced recently in the region, it's the absence of the improvement and enhancement of the security layer they have already. You know, Sandra, cybersecurity, it's not a tool. You install it once and done. It's an ongoing framework and should be integrated with every layer of your digital assets. So the absence of these three factors creates this damage in millions of dollars, and especially in data so far.
So you mentioned 3 challenges.
Yes.
Awareness.
Awareness,
at the level
execution
of
of the
employees.
complexity, and also the absence of the improvement and enhancement of the security layer, existing security infrastructure.
So we have a lot of organizations in the room today. A lot of them are your clients already. But if we want to give them an advice on how to start, what is the fastest and the most important way to secure yourself today, if you want to give an advice to the people in the room?
Okay, so just I want to tell you something very important. We reach a point that no organization worldwide, not only Lebanon, are 100% immune to any cyber attacks. Never. There is, in the Middle East, there is more than 90% of the organization, they faced a ransomware incident. So it's not the question, I am secured or not, or I will get compromised or not. The question is when the attack will come to me, and how am I ready to support this attack. There is a lot of new approach for this. Nowadays, there is one company that I used to work with. They create something called the micro-segmentation. I will explain. The best thing is to adopt something called zero trust approach. Zero trust approach, it's to trust no one in the organization, okay? Because the most valuable asset is your data. And to create isolation of every digital asset. Virtual isolation, not physical isolation, of every digital asset. I realize this to this boat analogy.
Yeah.
So the boat analogy, so imagine your organization is the boat. You cannot prevent the wave, okay? But you can build a resilient boat, okay? And if the water, like a ransomware, will enter this boat, it will enter into one part. You solve it, and the boat will reach the shore. So imagine the organization get hit by a ransomware, and you're isolated, all your digital assets. So your operation will remain functional without any disruption. But if the ransomware will enter any organization and you're not isolated, okay, it will spread across all your network. It's the same as we did in Lebanon in the COVID. We couldn't prevent the COVID not to come to Lebanon. We have to live with it. So what we did isolation, quarantine, and precaution. Same in cybersecurity. The ransomware is everywhere. Precaution, isolation, and security. That's it.
Great. So Will Tufi is telling us to trust no one. Is it true? Is it really no one? What about our suppliers? What about our partners, our vendors, technology vendors who are part of our IT systems? Where does the attack today come from?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's a big challenge, I think, today, as we've spoken about access to threats and the code enabled that you need to launch attacks is very easy. Furthermore, as we build our digital ecosystems, as we've discussed today, business partners, relationships, they're very, very important. It's the only way we can grow and scale. But if you consider those hundreds of thousands of vulnerabilities that are out there that someone could potentially take advantage of, that hundreds of people are trying to take advantage of on a daily basis, you might have the most robust security in the world. You might invest heavily in your own protection layers, have the best people, the best processes, but all it takes is for one of those connected partners of yours that are critical to your business operation to be compromised, and that could well impact you. We recently saw it with F5, which is a very well-known company. They have hundreds of thousands of their devices deployed across the globe, and many in this region, and their source code was compromised. It only takes one of those devices, not only in your network, but potentially in one of your suppliers or key business partner networks to be compromised, and you're at risk. So it's very, very important, as Tawfiq just said, is to contain and to manage those types of threats. Ultimately, it's very, very difficult to stop you or anyone that you do business with being compromised. But if you have an ability to continuously monitor for those types of threats, just like the attackers are doing, and you have a process to patch and plug those holes, very similar to the boat analogy, and then finally, if someone does come through one of those gaps, you have a way to contain it, is critically important.
Charles, you were CIO of a bank before moving to a vendor. So you've been on both sides, a customer side and the vendor side.
Exactly, yeah.
What's your comment on what has been said?
As Tawfiq said, it's a double-edged sword. So not only it brings risk and attacks, a lot of vendors are using powerful AI tools to detect fraud in real time. So I completely agree with what Tawfiq said, yeah.
So Will, back to you. You are a vendor that does risk assessments for companies. I'm curious to know, as Lebanese companies, most of us present today, how do we compare in terms of risk assessment in comparison with the GCC and with the rest of the world? Are we more vulnerable to attacks, especially after the Lebanese crisis, and maybe less investment has been made into tech and cybersecurity in the local market?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Sandra. So as a company, Security Scorecard, we are scanning the public internet on a daily basis, and we touch every asset that exists, and we look for threats and vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. And the reason I give you that context is because we do this at a regional and a country level. So we have data spanning back 9-10 years on the level of risk and the security profile of regions and countries. It won't surprise you, the Middle East traditionally has been very strong.
We have seen rating of companies here to be A, the highest rating historically in Lebanese banks mostly.
Absolutely. So both at a country level and then at an industry level, banking, manufacturing, government have all been very, very strong. But you know, investment in cyber risk is a bit like investment in insurance in our personal lives. You know, so when you have challenges and an economic crisis, the natural thing to do is to stop spending on those types of measures, because it feels a bit like insurance. It feels a bit like I'm spending money to protect myself, and something might not happen. You know, we heard earlier in the keynote, the investment just in technology generally has gone from 500 million to 5 million. So we can estimate that the investment in security has dropped proportionately as well. So we have seen an increase in the risk. We certainly have, but we're starting to see organisations now looking to invest again and really try and protect themselves from these threats. So I think the time, as we've heard throughout today, is now to reinvest and to protect ourselves and to return to those leading levels.
Finally, with you, Charles.
Yeah.
A lot of the companies today present with us in the room have mobile apps.
Yes.
And we're in the age of deep fakes, where
Exactly.
with a fake identity, you can open a bank account, you can also perform high-stake transactions, you can do a lot of things. His Excellency, the head of cybersecurity in the UAE government, was talking a lot about attacks on identity fraud as well around the region. So what examples have you seen, and what is the latest in identity verification?
Of course. Latest results are showing a 245% increase of deepfake attacks globally. The Middle East is flagged as a high-risk region. Why? Because of the fragmented regulation. So every country has its own regulation, and even inside the country, you can find multiple regulators. So this is why it is flagged as a high-risk region. What is happening is that we are seeing a lot of deepfake and synthetic identities attacks due mainly targeting the financial institution. For example, with a deepfake attack, it's now used to open a bank account, or authorize a transaction, which is very, very sensitive. So to combat a little bit the AI fraud and the synthetic identities attack, businesses nowadays are adopting a multi-layered identity verification strategies. When you say multi-layered, it combines, for example, biometrics at
So
first.
facial recognition.
Yeah, facial recognition, voice biometric, liveness detection for biometrics. You have as well behavioral analytics, which test the behavior of the user on the mobile, the speed of
Typing, maybe?
typing, touching the screen. These are very hard to fake. So even the swipe gesture, how do you swipe on your mobile? So these are very, very hard to fake. And when you have inconsistencies coming from these signals, of course, it flags a fraud. So the third layer that we are talking about is a fraud risk system. So nowadays, a lot of companies are using AI to catch the fraud, okay, by using fraud risk system. It is working more on the contextual data. So, for example, IP address, geolocation, the session history, where you are connected from. And imagine I'm connected on my mobile today, now, and doing a transaction, and at the same time, 2 minutes later, you have another connection from the same username coming from Russia
country.
or from Ukraine,
Yeah.
or from Asia, any other country. So this signal will come directly to the fraud monitoring system inside the financial institution to re-challenge the user. Nowadays, it's done to authenticate the user once. You have to keep authenticating the user throughout the whole session. So whenever you see any signal of fraud, you need to challenge the user to step up the authentication. I'm going to give you an example. For example, lately in the UAE, in the region, let's say, a leading bank was attacked by a deepfake video and a deepfake voice as well. So they impersonated the CEO of the bank, and they gave an order to transfer $35 million outside to a fraudster account, and it was executed. So we have protection is key now, and we need this multi-layered approach is very important to try as much as we can to secure our systems.
Thank you so much for your insights today. What is one key takeaway that you would like to leave with our audience? I'll start with you, Charles.
Security is very important, but user experience as well. So a key takeaway is to balance security with user experience. We don't want abundant rate to increase. We need it to decrease on a remote session.
Startups are going to love you because
Exactly.
user experience is very important for them.
Yeah.
Tufi?
It's a small advice because I heard a lot of AI and digital transformation for Lebanon actually and for the region. For that, you will be more exposed. More exposed, you will have a lot of attacks. So going into digital transformation with AI without a proper cybersecurity strategy is really dangerous, okay? Because one attack, when you are being exposed, can destroy all the things that you did. So if anyone wants to go to this digital transformation with this AI, build the national data center, all this, without cybersecurity strategy, it's useless. So this is my recommendation. Thank you.
Will?
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about the risk of AI, but of course there is opportunity as well for us, and we all in this room have access to the same capabilities as the bad guys, and I think we should be sure to invest in our people and invest in the technologies that enable us to really harness that, to protect ourselves, to continuously monitor our own environment, to make sure that we're staying on top of the threats, but also to engage with those business partners and those critical relationships that we have, which are going to help us grow and make sure that there's security there. And finally, I think we should communicate our program in a language that our boards and executives will understand, because that will help us continue to get investment to protect ourselves and to protect that extended ecosystem.
And hopefully we will see a lot of Lebanese startups focused on cybersecurity as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.